And a huge apology for the initial delay in the broadcast, but look at how awesome this action is. We're at the hyena den, and it's not just the little cub and its mother, but also a few of the older cubs and the mother of the oldest of the now 4 cubs within this clan. And the oldest is lucky enough to be having its morning drink. That's the one closest to us. And we didn't want to miss out on that initial action with the tiny little cub playing with its mom. But my name's Scott, and it's great to have you on board with us. We're in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, and it's a crisp winter's morning, about 12 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm teamed up with Andrew on camera today, and take a closer look at the hyena because the cub has just come out. Apologies, 54 degrees Fahrenheit. We use Celsius here in South Africa, so I haven't quite got to grips with the conversions yet. Look at this. The mother looked like it was about to possibly pick up her little cub there delicately in her jaws. Oh, look at this. She may pick it up. It's incredible to see how gentle they can be. Those are some of the most powerful jaws out here in the African bush for crushing bones, but thankfully in this case it's displaying its tenderly motherly love. Cute. Now, this is a live safari, and if any of you are joining for the first time, it's great to have you with us. If any of you would like to send through your thoughts or questions, feel free to do so. And it's really easy. You can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@WildEarthTV. Let us know if it is your first time viewing and where you're from. There's people around the world all joining in on this safari. And it's not just myself out this morning. Brent is out with Brian, and they have headed towards the Nkuhuma Pride with their buffalo kill that they made last night. There's some incredible footage, and we managed to actually, for the first time ever, film the Nkuhuma Pride catching their prey, and it was the ultimate prey takedown. One of their hardest quarries to kill, the Cape buffalo. So look forward to an update on what's been going on around the kill for those of you who were on the sunset safari last night. It's going to be interesting to see how much of that buffalo they have consumed. Well, isn't this wonderful? A lot of you may be wondering how come the hyena are so relaxed with our presence, and it's taken many, many years of constant good guiding practice, reassuring the animals that we form no threat to them, and we merely want to be spectators into their lives. And the current behavior you see is testament to the good guiding practice and habituation over many, many years, reassuring, like I say, these animals that we don't want to feed them. All we want to do is look at them. We don't want to harm them either. So it really allows for some really great viewing. Tricky thing with hyena though is they've got such complex hierarchical systems, and they're also quite difficult to distinguish between one another. So it's difficult to tell exactly what's going on and who's who. Let's take one last quick little look at the little cub before we send you across to the lion and their kill. And not to worry, Andrew and myself will not be going anywhere, and I'm sure after you've had a quick update from Brent on what's going on there, we'll call you back for a bit more hyena den action. Over to Brent, we'll see you later.
Good morning and welcome on this live safari. Welcome to the aftermath of what was an incredible experience that we all got to have last night on the sunset safari with the Nkuhuma Pride hunting buffalo. So those of you who might be new, we are live, so we're sitting next to lions eating a buffalo live. We also are interactive, so you can ask us questions, and you can do that by sending us an email, and the email address is questions@WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. But what an incredibly epic sunset safari we had with hungry Nkuhumas, and they managed to bring down a buffalo mere meters from us. And at the moment, only one lioness is feeding, and we will show you the rest of the comatose lions shortly. And they have made quite good headway on this buffalo. So for those of you who might be new or might have missed the last few days, we've been spending a lot of time with the Nkuhuma Pride, at least 5 or 6 drives, and we've seen them fail to catch buffalo a few times, and then finally our patience in waiting with them paid off as they caught this old buffalo bull very close to us, and we were lucky enough to see the whole hunt last night, which was absolutely incredible and not something we get to see too often. So what an amazing evening, and now we have some very fat lions and a very skinny buffalo. So if you look behind that lioness that's feeding, you just see these bellies. So for those of you who might have missed it last night, we're going to play a little quick clip of what happened last night. So here we go, we're going to play you that clip of what happened last night. So, as you see that, they ran after that buffalo. They actually chased the buffalo towards where the other buffalo, and it's amazing how they leap onto the animals' backs. And then, amazing how Junior, who was miles behind, probably 500 meters behind, just stormed in and added his weight. Actually was quite instrumental in bringing down of that buffalo. And you could see when he pulled it by the leg that it really made a difference. And you can see while the one lioness focused on the neck and on the nose, the others tried to bring it down with weight, jumping on its back, pulling on its back legs, and eventually they were able to bring it down. And now the lions have a nice stable meal for a few days at least. Wasn't that absolutely fantastic? And we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and a bit of patience that paid off. And as you can see, the innards of this buffalo have been eaten, and I know you guys from Scott's angle would have seen Junior opening up the stomach, and that is the easiest point of access for lions. So they will open that up, and Junior, being the male and the biggest at the moment, would have got in there and got to the liver, the lungs, the heart, the sort of high nutrient, high mineral value pieces, and he would have eaten those first, and that's why he would have gone for that soft underbelly of the buffalo ahead of the females. It's amazing how fast a lion's digestive system is. So they are able to digest what they eat very quickly, and this enables them to continue feeding in bouts even after a few hours when they've got incredibly full bellies. Now you can hear that and that is not actually bone. That's her using her premolars to cut through that thick buffalo hide, enabling her to get to more of the meat. So we're going to reposition, see if we can get a different angle on what's going on here with the Nkuhuma pride. And in the meantime, we're going to cross back to Scotty, who's with that incredibly cute little hyena den, who's making another appearance, hyena pup that's making another appearance.
Well, from the bone-crunching jaws of the lion to the branch-crunching jaws of these young little hyena. Look at them attacking this little twig. And I'm sure they would also like to be chewing on that buffalo carcass, but sadly for them they are not in a fortunate position like the Nkuhuma pride, but they are making do with their surroundings. I can just see the little cub has poked its head out. It's popping in and out of the burrow. It seems very playful this morning. And earlier on it was practicing its mountaineering, trying to climb up the steep banks that surround the burrow. What will its next move be? This hyena clan is a very interesting and awesome place for us to try and get to grips with the complex hierarchy of these animals. We still haven't quite pinpointed exactly who's who and what's what, but what I can tell you, and I'm hoping we're going to see it again while you're with us now, is there appears to be a sub-adult male who keeps circling kind of the perimeter of this den site, and the three slightly older cubs are always the ones to run up and chase it away. It's probably 2 or 3 times their size, and that these youngsters that we are looking at now, the 2 on the left, are possibly females and therefore ranked higher than him within the clan. You can see the little cub gets a little bit nervous when the others start to approach, but they do share that burrow. We've seen all of the cubs entering and exiting that burrow, and there are also a network of other holes that are all seen to be interconnected. Here goes the mountaineering. To have you on board with us. Dr. Debbie's asked a great question. They would like to know, how far away are we here from the Nkuhuma pride with their kill? And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why aren't these hyena lingering around there trying to steal some scraps? We are probably about 1.5 miles to 2 miles away as the crow flies, and the hyena here could certainly have been able to hear that buffalo letting out its death bellows last night. And there's a strong chance they may have headed there, had a quick look at what happened, and as soon as they saw that pride of lion with the amounts of meat that's left, and bless me, excuse me, seldomly seen hyena over. And apologies if we don't answer them immediately. There are a lot of people sending questions through. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why on earth is this little club pitch black, yet the rest of the clan have got these spotted coats, and they are born this charcoal black, and from about 3 months of age that little cub will begin to look more spotted hyena-like, and its coat will lighten and the spots will begin to show. This is the oldest of all 4 of the cubs now, and it, like the youngest cub, is an only child. Now, what this means is that it could have potentially killed one of its siblings, and it is harsh, but it's the way that future queens will anchor their position in the clan, and if there are 2 females born into the same litter, there's a strong chance that they will try and outcompete one another from birth, and therefore before we even get to see them, they may well have killed one of their siblings within the burrow, either by physically attacking it or simply by outcompeting it at nursing. Now on this little cub that we're having a look at, it's also an only sibling, and you may notice a little scar on its right shoulder there. It was a brief glimpse, but keep looking, and what this could mean is that may be a scar from a battle that it may have had with its sister. If it's a male and a female born into the same litter, it's less likely for siblicide to occur, because the female will already instinctively know that male will not pose a threat to her hierarchical position, and therefore she may tolerate him. So again, just trying to explain the complexities of a hyena clan. And isn't it interesting how the females are the most dominant and the males lesser, and often lesser in size? Mother attained all these notches and nicks in her ears. They do live a highly confrontational life, putting themselves into dangerous scenarios on a daily basis. And it's an animal that I truly would love to be able to follow for weeks on end, and day in, day out, for every hour of the day, because I'm sure we would be exposed to some really interesting behavior in terms of not only what they're capable of in terms of covering huge distances, searching for food, chasing off prey, but also be alerted to how strong their sense of smell is, and their hearing, and how far they will start to trot off in one direction, knowing that there's meat that lies up ahead. What makes it difficult is that they do move very quickly, and even though you can see she's very relaxed with us, unlike lion and leopard, who are a little bit easier to follow through the bush because they don't move quite as quickly as hyena, these guys would leave us in a trail of dust behind them, so we don't spend as much time as we would like to following them. But that's simply because it would be very, very difficult to. And unless we have a den site located, which we thankfully do at the moment, we don't really see them too often. So this is a golden opportunity that us at Djuma are very happy to be sharing with you. They don't stay at this den site permanently, and they will move from here to mainly one other that we know of. It's not far away, probably half a mile away, and after spending a few weeks here, and it gets full with parasites and ticks and also excrements, they may move to their other den, and then allow Mother Nature to take care of this one, clean it out, and then a few weeks later they could come back. So they seem to be ping-ponging between 2 den sites, but it's not uncommon for hyena to have even more that they can move between in their territory. Dory's interested into the chats about siblicide and how many cubs have been born, what do we actually know. Now, it's tricky, like I say, because they will be actually often given birth to at a separate den from the clan's usual den, so there's a strong chance that female would have given birth elsewhere, and then after a week or 2 carried this little cub in her jaws back to the main clan den sites. During that first week or 2, whether there were 2 or 3 cubs or possibly even 4 at a maximum born, it's very hard to say. The birthing canal of the female hyena is very narrow, and there can often actually be complications where there will be stillborns and actually cause death to female hyena, but that's more often in their first birth. It's hard to tell again whether this female has given birth to this cub for her first time or if she's given birth to cubs in the past. But we can only assume that possibly due to the fact that there is a scar on the shoulder of that little cub, that there could well have been a little tussle down in the burrow between two tiny cubs. Incredible to believe that from birth these animals will instinctively know what to do and know that there's competition, but that is how we as humans may often differ to a lot of the wild animals. We rely on being taught a lot of things, whereas animals are born with a lot of instinctive traits that will guide them in the right direction through life. Now you can see this little cub suckling. It's probably around 8 or 9 months old at a guess. Very difficult for me to age, but that's what we kind of think as a rough age, and it will continue to nurse for up to 12 to 14 months. Now Chrissy is interested to know, will the mother hyena also bring back, and other clan members bring back meat and regurgitate it at the den to supplement these cubs' diets? And Chrissy, no, it's unlike hyena to regurgitate meat at the den site as wild dog would do, but they occasionally do carry back scraps, bones, and little kills. Okay. Well, we are going to actually move off from the hyena den. Things seem to have cooled off here. We were here for the best action so far this morning, and we're going to go and look and see what else we can find, possibly some leopards, some other spotted animals. But in the meantime, shoot across to Brent and see what those lions are up to.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, we're still at the Nkuhumas. There's a very, very, very fat junior lying off in the distance, and we've got a little bit of behavior going on here in front of us, and you can see this female who is next to the carcass is busy trying to cover up some of the stomach content and blood, and you will see lion and leopard quite often do this. Even though on a kill this size it is probably not as important on the smaller thing, they're trying to sort of hide the smell from hyenas or other lions even. But you can see very, very happy lions at the moment. Okay, we sort of have to move forward a little bit. They've all disappeared behind us. You can see there's a very dirty little sub-adult. He's decided to take a gap, even though that belly is grotesquely large. So we just move forward a little bit. Unfortunately, I think the best option is for us to go around the other side to see some of that. Hello, girls. Aren't you looking very chuffed with yourselves this morning? So I know Scotty's been with the hyenas this morning, and I'm sure you've been having an absolutely wonderful view there of that little guy. And Dylan, I was wondering, would the Nkuhumas ever come into contact with that hyena kind? Most definitely, I'm sure they have a few times over the time they've been operating in this area. And from what I could see from the tracks as I drove up towards these lions this morning, is that the hyenas are quite well aware, and it's not as the crow flies that far to where the hyena den is. It's probably 2.5 kilometers or so, and they would have definitely heard that death bellows of this buffalo yesterday. Hello, Junior. Don't get up. Please don't. And there we go. Let's try sneaking the side here. How's that, Brian? Sorry?
I'll say a little bit further forward.
A little bit further forward. Sorry, Dylan, back to your question. I was saying, and it looked like the hyenas actually came probably about 50, 60 meters from here and had a good look. A good look at where the lions were. And probably decided that fresh after that kill, the lions were still very hungry and quite aggressive. So from what I could see, it was only 1 or 2 hyenas that came to have a look. But possibly over the next few days, they might, a few more might come, and they might attempt to push the lions. And depending on how full the lions are and or how much they want to defend this carcass from the hyenas might be able to rob it. Sorry, stations. There is space for 2. I'm the only station in this position. Here we can see that sub-adult lioness using those teeth to cut through the thick skin. Okay, guys, we're going to cross back to Scott quickly, who's got some action at the hyena den, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Now, as you can see, we have not left the hyena den. Well, we did actually. We've returned, because as we left, we've seen another adult hyena approaching. It looks like the mother of the 2 smaller cubs. She's coming across to our right quite slowly. There's a lot of bush, but it's going to be very interesting to see the behavior of the rest of the clan when she arrives. She's approaching very slowly and cautiously, and when she does arrive, we can expect to see some greetings, a lot of vocalizations, and here she comes. I've just heard an elephant trumpet nearby. You may have possibly picked that audio up. And it's going to be absolutely wonderful to see the 2 younger cubs responding to their mother when she arrives, and also the rest of the clan. I'm just going to try and roll back a bit. Oh, no, that's not working. But I am just going to try and reverse a little bit, and that way free us up a wider field of view to see exactly what's going on, and also to allow this hyena to see what's going on at the den. Now that she can see, she's appears to be approaching directly, and her stomach's extremely full-bellied. We're not sure if she's pregnant with another litter, but here goes. Let's see what happens. Isn't this awesome? Watch closely. Now, tails up is a sign of strength and dominance. They all have their tails up at the moment. But clearly, the hyena that has just arrived is not taking any chances with those 2 females that have just approached her. And it looks like the female was chasing off a young male there, the one who got chased off by the initial 2 females, then took off her aggression on the young male, an easy target for a female hyena. Now apologies for the radio antenna and blue cord you can see on the screen, but we're trying to show you as much as possible, and it is a live safari, so we can't predict what the animals are going to do, and would rather show you exactly what we can see, even if there are a few strange obstructions in the foreground. Now, ideally they would have done all of this in front of us, but as you can see, they've all disappeared into thick bush. Rather than crashing after them, I think it's going to be best for us to wait here, because I'm guessing they're all going to return once they've had their greetings and resolved their little debate that they seem to be having. Oh, little cub tripped over a branch there. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition the vehicle so that we are facing back in the direction that those hyenas have headed in, and that way when we return we'll have a better view of them. A few days ago we got to see some incredible behavior between the different clan members, and there was actually a little bit of, it was fighting, but nothing too serious. They are all family, I guess. But some really interesting behavior between the different clan members, trying to establish dominance and also just make sure, I guess, their little cubs are safe. I hope they haven't disappeared for good, but like I say, the movements are difficult to predict, and also the reasons for their movements and behavior are very difficult for us to read into. We would have to know a lot more about them and follow them more intricately to know exactly who's who. I did see one hyena off in the distance, still moving in front of us, and it looks like they're slowly beginning to return to the den. This is the one with extremely full belly. Again, not sure if she's full of meat or full of babies. It would be unlikely that she's pregnant already, although nature can surprise us. If she is in fact the mother of the two medium-sized cubs, she technically should not already be pregnant. They are not quite old enough for her to be giving birth to the next litter, but looking at that stomach of hers, it certainly appears that it's full of something, either meat or babies. And also interesting now that she seems to be returning, but there's no sign of the other two mothers. Now, speaking of aggression and interesting behavior with hyena, you would have noticed the lions fighting quite aggressively with one another over the kill. Hyena will also fight aggressively with other clan members when there is food on the table, so that isn't uncommon for them. What's she gonna do next here? But like the lions, once the dinner is finished, they will often groom one another and lick one another and reaffirm bonds. Now it's going to be interesting to see if she vocalizes here to call out this little cub to greet it, even though it's not her own. Well, I hope everything's okay over there. I heard an elephant trumpeting in a vehicle driving quite hastily. Let me just double check on the radio. Station on Philemon's dip with the glove. Is everything okay there? Okay, copy, thanks, Tex. There's another hyena coming in. It's coming in at high speed. And it sounds like it's vocalizing. This is going to be awesome. At the Nisikaya, it's active. Okay, copy, thanks. Watch closely here. This hyena looks very excited. Don't worry, Texan's okay. It's just a young elephant bull giving him a bit of a run around. Now, like I said, I can't explain this behavior, and I'm not actually sure if that hyena was here earlier. I don't think it was. I think that is a fourth adult and also looks like it could be a female that seems to have just run in. You can see it is very excited, it's vocalizing, and I think it may well have followed the sense of the other hyena running off. We must remember their senses are so much better than ours, and they may know a lot more of what's going on than what we would assume. Oh, here comes the elephant. Wow, isn't this something? I don't know who's more excited, the elephant or the hyena. Or if Texan's got a pocket of oranges on his vehicle that this elephant's after. I'm only kidding, that wouldn't be the case. Now, if this elephant does charge us, there's a strong likelihood that I may charge it back in the vehicle, just to try and show it that we are not scared of it, and to try and kind of put it in its place. But we don't want to get in its way. It may simply be displaced aggression that it may take out on us because it doesn't like hyena. You can see how it's holding its head up very high, making itself look big, and it probably will keep its tail horizontal. It'll push it up, holding it away from its body, indicating that it's not happy. So it's a very good behavioral indicator. Even though it's very thick, try and keep an eye on that tail. It tells us a lot about the elephant's mood. Okay, now there is a lot going on here, so it doesn't make it easy for Andrew. I'm just going to try and swivel the vehicle around because this is the hyena that's just arrived at the scene. I don't think it's been here earlier this morning, and it's coming to say hello to the little cub. The elephant's still just off behind us here, but everything seems okay for now with that. But let's take a closer look here, Andrew. There's more hyena moving around from the rear side of the den where we are not situated at the moment, so let's watch closely. It's hard to know where to look at the moment, but we could witness some more very interesting hyena clan behavior here. And you'll notice how they hold their tails up high there again. It's a dominance display. Even though it's through thick bush, they appear to be greeting one another. They do a lot of sniffing of the genitalia, very similar to dogs, to try and process smells and understand a little bit better about what that individual's feeling and doing. So it's a lot of tactile communication, and they are now rubbing heads up against one another, Like I said, it's very thick and we're not going to reposition the vehicle every 2 minutes. And rather just try and be stationary here and allow nature to play out without us interfering. The elephant thankfully has moved off, so we are no longer in risk of getting caught in the crossfire. You may have heard me mention displaced aggression. The elephant's going to be in a heightened mood and anxious mood because of these hyena and possibly other predator around that it doesn't like, and it could therefore take that aggression out on us. So there's something we have to be cautious of. I know Brent with a lion sighting the other day, I think it was 2 days ago at Arathusa, he kept his distance as a herd of elephants stumbled upon the Nkuhuma pride, the same pride that you are with Brent this morning. And rather than getting caught in the crossfire, it's sometimes better to hang back. Now those 2 hyena have headed off into the thickets, tails held high. And these little cubs are very wisely seeking refuge around their burrows. I guess they know that when the adults are getting excited and establishing who's who and what's what, it's best for the cubs to seek shelter of the den, so again they don't get caught in the crossfire. It would be wonderful to know where the rest of these hyena have gone. There've been a whole different number of hyena, different sizes, different mothers coming and going, and where they've gone and what they're doing and why they've all left now, it's hard to say. But I can see 2 more arriving from our right hand side. Again, their tails are held very high, they're keeping their heads to the ground, sniffing intently. Well, while things calm down here and we try and wait and see what happens, how incredible is that clip that you all saw of the Nkuhuma pride successfully taking down that big male Cape buffalo yesterday? And we need to commend Brent for being in the right place at the right time, as well as Andrew for filming that high-paced action. And I'd be lucky to be looking at the highlights, and a lot of you were lucky enough to watch that live. Really incredible stuff, and we have been talking about it a lot over the last week or so, that the time is coming for us to capture a live kill, and finally it happened. And not only did it happen, but it happened in perfect scenario. There was golden afternoon sunlight, an open area where we could actually see everything unfolding. So I hope you enjoyed that clip. I certainly loved watching the highlights when I got back to camp last night, and even enjoyed the last few glimpses when VM and I raced to the scene. We were actually sitting at Treehouse Dam listening for any alarm calls or any audio, and I knew the lion was stalking something, but we weren't sure what. But then we heard that buffalo bellowing, and we started the car and raced over there to also get a slice of the action. Now, speaking of action, there appears to be no more here. I cannot see any hyena, not even the youngsters around the den. The adults appear to have moved off. But again, really interesting, and the more time we spend here, the more we may try and understand what exactly is going on with the clan and their hierarchy. I have pulled my earpiece out, so sadly I've been out of touch with the outside world, but I'm back in action now, and I think it may be a good opportunity to send you back to the Nkuhuma pride, as now I think it's safe for Andrew and myself to move away from here. Things seem to have diffused, so over to Brent, and we're going to go and look for something else.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, some of the lions have moved to the top of the termite mound, and looking very chuffed with themselves. We had a brief visual, but quite a long way away, and we can't actually see it anymore, of a hyena who was investigating, and the lions actually moved up onto that termite mound to watch that hyena. Oopsie. So the hyenas definitely are aware that this carcass is here, but it was a single hyena, and definitely not worth that hyena taking the chance of challenging this many lions. The one lioness actually moved up into the bush, and the hyena, we could just see it way in the distance as it moved past us. So maybe, who knows, they might wait a little bit, call some friends, and who knows what might happen. Probably not during the day today, but maybe this evening. Definitely worth coming to have a look at what happens tonight. Move around a little bit so we can have a look. I just keep seeing these lions look off into the distance there. I'm wondering if that... Oh, there's a steenbok. That's what they've spotted now. Just run out onto the road. But that's also the same area where the hyena disappeared, but a bit further away. Hello, little steenbok. There are lions just over here. It's unlikely that the lions would make an attempt at the little steenbok, especially when they've still got so much meat here on this buffalo carcass. It'll be interesting to see, because the hyena is definitely aware that the lions have this kill here, whether they do come back. Hello, Mr. Junior. Now that is a seriously flat belly. And Dory is just noting on Junior's fat belly that it's so nice to see fat, flat cats. I agree with you. They were looking quite hungry yesterday. Go ahead, Andrew. Myself and Aubrey, no one else expressing interest. You're welcome to make your way. So this young sub-adult is still getting involved in the feeding, and we've got another thing is looking at feeding is from Deb in Ohio, about how many pounds can a lion consume in a single sitting. Well, pounds is not really my strong point, but in kilograms it's about between 15 and 20 kilograms depending on the size of the lion. Male lions can eat, as far as I know, possibly even up to 30 kilograms in a single sitting. But normally with a lioness like this would probably be 15 to 20 kilograms in a single sitting. But they have incredibly fast digestive systems. And what the reason for this is it enables them, disappearing inside the buffalo. And what this does is it enables them to gorge, and then their body processes that protein very quickly, and they defecate it out, and they're able to feed again in no time. You can see how dirty the forelegs are of that young sub-adult there, and that's from him climbing inside the carcass. I'm sure being a little bit smaller than the others, and can get a bit deeper inside that carcass. So, as we saw a little bit in the beginning yesterday, that the lions were quite aggressive with each other around the kill. And being a big kill like a buffalo, they weren't as aggressive as they would be around a small kill like an impala. But Kevin on Twitter has asked, can we see any noticeable flesh wounds on the faces or on the bodies of the lions from that fighting over food? I can't actually at the moment, but I haven't had a good look at all the animals. But it is quite on a bigger carcass like this, there is a little bit less of that fighting. Obviously, if the pride was bigger, there would be a little bit more fighting. So, and generally, you'll find the really, really intense fighting is over something small like an impala. And your head disappearing inside the chest cavity there. So it was such an amazing sighting of those buffalo, of that buffalo being taken down, and being able to witness it from start to finish. And there were two females in particular who seemed to be leading that hunt. And Sandy in Texas would like to know if I managed to notice which female it was that was attached to the throat or made the initial jump onto the buffalo. I didn't, but I will actually have a good look later when I download my photographs, and we should be able to figure it out there. So from what I could see, the female who led the hunt yesterday looked a little bit more hungry than the others. They were all very hungry, but she just looked that little bit more hungry than the others. So her belly was slightly more concave. But there were two females that led the initial charge and jumped on, and also came around and grabbed the buffalo by the neck and by the nose. But all the lions did get involved in the end, even the sub-adults, although the sub-adults weren't the most useful, but obviously this is a really good learning experience for them while that was happening, to be able to be around and witness that. And they did make some attempts to jump onto the buffalo. But Junior definitely added his considerable weight to that, and definitely made a big difference and helped with the bringing down of that buffalo. Just going to try have a look here. I have a sneaky suspicion it was the amber-eyed lioness, that sort of orange-eyed lioness that was on the nose, but I will double check that. And quite often with lions and on the hunt, there are quite a lot of different theories about who leads the hunts generally in that. I think the hungriest lion generally leads the hunt, and all the lion takedowns that I've seen, there definitely is. There's been a lot of debate over the years whether lions display proper cooperative hunting techniques. I definitely think they do. I don't think they're as well thought out as some people think they do. I think a lot of it is a sort of instinctual response, but they definitely, especially with these bigger prey, practice a definite cooperative hunting strategy. And you can see the lions take visual cues from each other. And there's quite a lot of debate, and there's been some quite interesting papers written about whether possibly the movement of the black tip of the tail and the ears are things that lions would read to try figure out what's going on and take those visual cues from the other lioness. So I don't think there's any audio cues during the hunting, and I think we would see, even if we weren't able to hear them, we would see the movement, but I definitely think they do take signals from each other, from reading body language and possibly from the ears and from the tail. Very happy kitties. So, speaking of old orange eyes, who is definitely my favorite lioness in the Nkuhuma pride, Ashley from Alabama would like to know, do I think she is the alpha or lioness in the pride? I'm not 100% sure, actually, but probably not. I think she is one of the younger lionesses, so it's more than likely that the dominant female in the pride will be one of the older lionesses, but maybe she's the next in line. But it'll be interesting to watch. With lion prides, with the females, it's a lot more difficult to figure out who is the dominant, because they are such a social animal, and they are very, with the social grooming and that, and they all sort of treat each other with a lot of love when they're not fighting over food. So it is more difficult to figure out which is the alpha in that situation, but we will definitely keep watching and try figure out who is possibly the alpha of the pride. As we see, we've got quite a few sleepy cats around the vehicle. And Declan, who's a new viewer as per this week. And what a week to start, Declan. You lucky fish. Declan would like to know why lions sleep so much. And there we can see a very sleepy lion. And Declan, it's the way they've evolved. They are unable to deal with heat very well. And so what this causes them, that they have bouts of intense movement. And then they will sleep, and on average they'll sleep about 20 hours a day. A lot of that's to conserve energy. When they do hunt, like we saw last night as a successful hunt, they do utilize an incredible amount of energy. And that lioness who was hanging on the nose of the buffalo didn't start feeding for quite a while, even while the other lions were feeding, and that's because she was just waiting to sort of get her energy back, and wait for the lactic acid to sort of dissipate in her body. And the main reason lions sleep so much is because of their difficulty in dealing with heat. And now, especially with these big fat bellies, the digestive process obviously also causes quite a lot of heat. So they're going to be sleeping a lot longer at the moment while they've got nice big bellies, and interspersed with bouts of feeding while they have a nice stable carcass to feed off. Well, on the topic of sleep and sleeping, Dory just was wondering whether I was even able to sleep last night, or was the excitement too much and I couldn't get to sleep. Well, what happened, Dory, is I was so excited after drive and chatting, and then once it sort of went down a little bit, I crashed. I passed out and went straight to sleep. So I got a very good night's sleep last night, and slept right through. So it was a really, really great night's sleep, and I slept like a lion. Disappearing into the carcass again. So the amazing thing is that initially I thought they were actually stalking zebra, so we could see zebra very close to where the lionesses were. And Kay in Wisconsin was wondering, did the lions use the zebra to cause the chaos that enabled them to catch this buffalo? Kay, I don't think they would have thought that far ahead, and I think it happened to be that the zebra might have got out of the way and the buffalo were there. They might have been hunting the buffalo, but I don't think the lions would have utilized the zebra to cause a bit of chaos. I think that just was maybe an added bonus. There we can, if we come out wide again, we can see that female. She's trying to cover up the stomach contents again, and the blood, and that's trying to stop the smell from spreading. And that is not only to try to stop hyenas, although I'm sure every hyena within 5 kilometers of here knows about this buffalo at the moment because of the bellows that buffalo made while it was dying last night. It could also be to stop the smell from male lions that could be further away, whether it be the Matimbas or possibly the Birmingham boys who weren't that far away. And quite an interesting thing is that I've been wondering whether the Birmingham boys heard that last night and would they make their way here. So the Nkuhumas were calling when we got up this morning, and before we left and while we were still prepping the vehicles, we could hear the whole pride roaring with great gusto. She wants to stretch and clean nails, but just too fat, too lazy. So I'm just going to lie here for a while, digest my buffalo steaks before I decide on anything too vigorous in the exercise front. Oof. You can almost see the sort of weight of the belly flopping them over. I mean, have a look back at the kill, and you can see there that the hips are actually showing of this buffalo, and the whole rump area has been eaten already. And Blair in Ontario said she's heard that this rump region is the best part or the tastiest. It is the second part they will go for if they have the choice. That, as I said, they go for some of the internal organs with their high nutrient and higher mineral value. The next part they go for is that rump area, and there is a very specific reason for that. It is the most accessible area that's got the most meat on it. So you'll often find on carcasses that the rump area is eaten first, and you'll see that with leopards as well. Quite often they'll start on the rump, and that's the sort of the easiest access with most benefit. And in a lot of animals, including lions, but it's very apparent in cheetah that they will always start on that first because they can try get the most meat possible before they possibly lose the kill. So lions will do it as well in case there might be male lions who might come chase them off, or even a large clan of hyenas that might do it. So there's a reason that they start on that rump area. It is lots of meat, not too many bones, and easily accessible and easy to open up. Here you go, fat, sleepy kitties. We can see a bit more dusting and covering of the carcass again, covering it with sort of the leaf litter and sticks and sand, just trying to make sure that smell doesn't permeate too far. Oh, dust baths out of the carcass. So when we got to that carcass initially, and from Scott's angle, you guys would have seen Junior start feeding around the sort of genitalia area, and the reason for that is it's the softest point to open up the carcass. And Sandy's was wondering why he would have gone to that area first, and he's opening up the carcass to try to get to those internal organs we were talking about. So that's the reason. It's the easiest point of access to the rest of the organs, and also no big ribs and bones in that area. So that's the reason he would have gone for the genital areas first. So speaking about, we've been speaking quite a bit about scavengers and hyenas, and we've had a hyena come look around the edge of this carcass. Anna Marie from New Jersey is wondering, is it too soon for vultures to arrive? It is, Anna Marie. So last night this happened just after sunset, and the vultures would already been safely in their trees sleeping, and now it's still too early in the morning. They will wait till sort of when it gets a bit warmer. What's going on there? Sorry, Anne-Marie, I'll be with you in a second. I just saw a lioness doing something a bit strange. Oh no, she's just going to join the others on the termite mound. Sorry about that, Anna-Marie. So what happens is the vultures will wait until it's a bit warmer, because they're such big, heavy birds. They need thermals to be able to fly effectively, and thermals is currents of warm air rising off the ground, and they will catch these thermals and use them to ride up high, so they can get to a high vantage point where they're able to see. And so probably in about an hour and a half, they will start riding those thermals. It's possible the bateliers might find this a bit sooner. They get flying a little bit earlier in the morning than the vultures. Very happy kitties. Still quite a lot of meat left in that buffalo, if the other lioness doesn't drown it in sand. She's making quite a dust storm there as she's trying to cover up the stomach contents and blood. I'm just going to try and move the vehicle slightly so we can get a better view of that. Watch out there, Brian. How's that, Brian? Here we go. she's actually made a mound. And she's not finished adding to her mound yet. So trying to cover up stomach contents just to try to stop that smell. Alerting other predators that there's a buffalo kill here. But as I said, the hyenas already know. We saw one hyena wandering around the edge of the kill, obviously not ready to take the chance of challenging these lions yet. And there we go. Looks like it's taking a lot of effort. The sun's out now and it is getting a little bit warmer. They might move this carcass into a shady spot later in the day if it does get too hot out here. At the moment, I think it's still a bit too heavy for them, a single lioness, to drag. So speaking of feasting and internal organs that the lions do go for, Penny Pine is wondering whether they would eat the brains. In a lot of the smaller animals, they definitely would, but I think it would be quite difficult with that buffalo having a very thick skull and that hard casing for them to actually access the brain. They might be able to from underneath, but generally you quite often find that these buffalo skulls are intact.